Well, if I can go into that again, to go back to my earlier statement, his explanation was that he didn't think it at the time when he testified in Michael's defense, he didn't see it as wrong. Now, if that were true, like I said before, why not simply say, okay, these things happened, but it wasn't in a sexual nature, even though if he's telling the truth, it was. But the fact that he said no indicates that he knew there would have been negative connotations had he said so, which therefore means he knew it was wrong if he's telling the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you make an excellent point. You know, and that just adds weight to this whole debacle. Is that the right word? I mean, I just can't get my head around it. You know, why on earth would Michael Jackson have somebody who he sexually abused for 7 years to open his defense for him in the 2005 trial? Doesn't make any sense, does it really? And it's, you know, the more times I watch that interview of Wade Robson, the more I can't believe it. You know, and an area that I haven't really talked about on the tutorial is that I'm conscious that I might have a bias towards Michael Jackson because, you know, as you know, I wrote Behind the Mask about Michael Jackson, which became an international bestseller, which was fantastic. But, you know, a lot of people are leaving me comments saying, you know, you might have a bias towards Michael Jackson. And again, that is a valid point. However, the behavior I see in Wade Robson can be backed up with the science that is in the field using, you know, reliable testimony and research from the experts that I've already mentioned. So it's not necessarily what I see, is how I can back up my allegations with what's, you know, used in the field already with law enforcement. But again, it, you know, when people leave me that comment, it is a valid point. You know, I might have a bias towards Michael Jackson, and I said in the interview that, you know, I wanted to be impartial to Wade Robson. I wanted to hear what he had to say. You know, I had my doubts well before I listened to that interview that it was going to be, you know, BS, but I was prepared to hear him out because at the end of the day, I wasn't there, you know, and, you know, this you know, I can't be 110% sure that something didn't go on, but from what I can see in Wade Robson, he is not telling the truth there at all. But it's interesting when it comes down to Michael Jackson that, you know, I will fight tooth and nail for his innocence because as I point out in Behind the Mask, you know, he is very, very honest, and I do not see any signs of deception when he was talking about the allegations of sexual abuse. I don't see that he is lying about that. He's very honest, and he's telling the truth. But I am conscious that I might have a truth bias towards Michael Jackson, and that's why I try and back up my observations with as much research as possible to avoid that. And it's called a truth bias, and that's why I've put so much research into the analysis, and that's why it was so long. I mean, it was over 45 minutes because I tried to back it up there with that. And I am my own, you know, worst critic, to be honest with you, because I work for a living as well. I have a day job, and I got home from my day job. I think it was about 5 o'clock, and I opened my email inbox and my Facebook and my Twitter, and I must have had between 70 and 100 messages of people telling me that the Wade Robson video is online, and when are you going to analyze it? And it was like, flipping heck, I've got to sort my life out, my kittens out. I need to, you know, spend some time with my other half. And to be honest with you, I felt like I rushed the analysis. You know, I spent about maybe 2-3 hours on the analysis, but it was getting late and I was tired and I wanted to spend some time with my missus and I wanted to play with the cats and there was a football game on I wanted to watch. And I felt like I rushed the analysis actually because I watched it back and, you know, I was looking at behaviours that I hadn't displayed. I hadn't talked about in Wade Robson, and that's why I did a few screenshots on my Facebook page where I gave a more detailed analysis of his behaviour because I was conscious of the fact that I wasn't really explaining myself well on the video tutorial. So again, I apologise to anybody who has watched both of those video tutorials that, you know, I talk about emblematic slips and I talk about statement analysis without giving you a detailed explanation as to what these mean. So again, if you have watched my video tutorials and you aren't, overly sure about the terminology I use, then just head over to my body language page on Facebook. Just scroll down my Facebook page wall, and you'll see the screenshots where I give a detailed breakdown of what I talk about in there. You see, I try and make it as user-friendly as possible because of a lot of behavioral science terminologies that I use, which are, used in the field, which, to the layman are just like, well, what the hell's he on about? He's blinding us with science, and that's not what I'm about. I'm about educating people and the behavior you see in others, and looking at when people possibly aren't telling the truth.
I'm just surprised that anybody would consider it. There's a person who suddenly has realized they were molested, and this is up until you're 14 years old. In between 14 and what? 20? What is he, 29?
Yeah, you're right.
30. He's 30 or 31, I believe.
Okay, in between 14 and 31, if there was going to be a breakdown, I'm sure it would have happened before. He's there, in other words, teachers love their students. They care about their students so much, okay? He's got a class. He has a class of, this class has been going on long before his son was born. And so he's been around, he's been watching young boys and teaching them and probably helping them form their bodies. He's touched them, every single thing. He's had an opportunity to deal with this feeling. In other words, he's had an opportunity to be triggered long, long ago. And so just to wait and look at his son and say, wow, I don't want that to happen to my child.
Thank you for bringing that up, because not only that, but during the investigation in 1993 and in 2005, he was asked by law enforcement several times, did this happen, and did this happen? Did he molest you? And each time he said no. If this was going on, if he had been molested during this time, then being constantly asked about it, would that not also help trigger any memories or keep him reminded of it? Or therefore tell it that or indicate to him that it's wrong if he's being asked by law enforcement?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. There would be flashes of concealed emotion during those times, which law enforcement in the States are certainly skilled on. Microexpressions are big business at the moment. Maybe not so much in the 90s, but certainly in the noughties. Yeah, and someone would have picked up on that. Someone would have picked up on his heightened emotions. He might have broken down then. He would have flashed disgust, anger, repulsement. Yeah, you know what I mean? And obviously he didn't. He didn't display that because that would have been picked up, years ago. So, you make a good point there, actually. Yeah, that's something
and then not only that, but there were several parties, including the FBI, who investigated Michael beginning in 1992 to 2005. During many of the years that Wade is alleging he was abused, and I find it hard to believe that under such intense investigation that he would molest a child. Not only, and if Wade is to be believed, that would mean that he had molested Wade during the time of the Jordan Chandler incident, and I find it hard to believe that he would do something like that to a child while he's already being investigated for child molestation. It makes no sense.
You make an excellent point. Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, the whole thing does not sound plausible in any way, shape, or form.
We're trying to get Christina Tozer to call in because you did an interview with her, and there were some things in her interview with you that you would like to share. Christina, call in. I know that you're in another country, but call in for just a little while, okay?
I hope
you have. You remember doing the interview?
Yeah, I speak to Christina all the time. She's on my personal Facebook page. I speak to Christina all the time. She's great, a real advocate for Michael Jackson, like the MJ Justice Project and Siren as well. They're both a fellow Canadian. I like Christina. She's nice. Yeah, got a good sense of humor as well. That's always important.
Yes, she does. Christina, Canada or not, call in. Call in for like minutes and share with everybody, because you put the interview in the chat room, and we could never ever read an interview in the chat room. It just zooms by, but I'm sure it has information that we would like to hear. Okay. There you go. I've made my play for you to call.
Indeed. So it's body language is fascinating. You know what I mean? And like I said before, when you're in the search for the truth, watch for the emotions. Watch for the emotion on display. Like I said before, often it's the absence of emotion which reveals more about the credibility of a statement than the actual presence of an emotion. And like I said, a liar can rehearse a story to make it, sound verbally impressive, but their words are betrayed by the lack of emotional symmetry or the non-verbal symmetry. So watch out for that. That's a really telling point, But again, there's ways around that, sadly, and like I said with that Stanislavski, it's called Stanislavski system, is where somebody will experience something that's already happened to them, but it doesn't necessarily relate to what they're talking about. It's just that they can look. Their emotion can look believable, and again, if they start doing that, then there is absolutely no chance that I can pick up any kinds of deceptual leakage, because there won't be any, because they are experiencing the emotion, just not the emotion what they're talking about in relation to whatever they're finding difficulty in bringing that emotion to life. So again, it's something that most body language professionals don't necessarily consider, but again, it depends how skilled the liar is as well. But like I've said a million times before, it would appear that Wade Robson is not recalling information from memory. That's what they know. I mean, that's what I think. That's my opinion. But it's interesting. And emotions, they come and go. Emotions. We don't become emotional about everything, and we're certainly not always experiencing an emotion. And the most common way in which we, feel an emotion is, when we've experienced something that has, affected our well-being, or something that's happened to us. And emotions, going back to my training, they prepare us to deal, quickly with things, and, they help us to prepare and deal with important events without us having to consciously think about it. I had an incident happen to me on Wednesday when I was driving home from work that I posted about on my Facebook page about I had a near miss driving home. I was driving home from work and some mindless nitwit pulled out of a junction and nearly went into the side of me. And before I had even chanced to even register really what happened, before my conscious mind had really considered what happened, I'd swerved out of the way, I'd applied the brakes, and my heart was pounding. And this happened in less than a second. And that was my subconscious, that was the fear response, and my face would have flashed fear, and that's something I wouldn't have any control over. That just happened instantaneously. And it's amazing because I was singing along to a song in my car, and, within a millisecond I'd stopped doing that. I think I screamed like a big girl because again it's a subconscious action, and I swerved the car. But that's my subconscious scanning my surroundings for any threats to my well-being. It's part of the limbic. It's the autonomic nervous system. It's constantly scanning your surroundings for problems. And again, it saved my life. You know what I mean? If I had to be in conscious control of that emotion, I would have reacted too slowly. And I would have gone, and that car would have gone straight into the side of me. I was traveling at about 50 miles an hour as well, so it would have been, a hospital trip for myself, but my subconscious saved my life. And again, that is the beauty of emotions. They're running on autopilot in the background, constantly scanning your surroundings for threats. And again, they are heightened when we experience things that affect us dearly. Wade Robson is talking about a series of sexual abuse over a 7-year period. You'd expect his emotions to be heightened to the ceiling. I don't see that.
Reverend Kaufman has made some interesting points. She was saying originally that the estate has to go to court. It must go to court because otherwise it leaves it open for others. Now, I really am kind of hoping that the judge says, no, I won't allow it. And I'm sorry that you can't get through, Christina. I hope you ultimately can. But I'm trying to keep up with Reverend Kaufman. She was talking about Stacey Brown and Diane Diamond, and how much they will have to lose. They have a lot to lose if the real truth comes out about Michael, and that's a fact. They will have a lot to lose because they've been trying to constantly penetrate everybody's mind and say, oh, he just got away because he wanted money. He paid can you imagine Michael Jackson paying off the entire jury? Spare me. So that is really quite interesting. We know that I didn't keep the video up. It's like about 5 seconds or something, where Tom Mesereau is saying he was the first one on the. He was the first one there. He was the first one to testify, and how strong he was, and how adamant he was, and how absolute, he was that Michael never touched him. Neither did he see Michael touch anyone else.
Absolutely right, yeah, and that's a point I made at the start of our interview. Again, and why would Michael Jackson have somebody who he sexually abused for 7 years open his defense case for him? It doesn't make any sense, does it, at all? And again, that for me is a huge red flag there. It just does not make any sense. And I heard a rumor, I don't know if it's a rumor, maybe you can clear this up, that Wade Robson was alleged to have tried to choreograph a tribute show to Michael Jackson. I think it was in 2008, and I don't think he got the gig. But again, is that correct? I think it was.
It was in 2011, I believe. He said he tried to work on the Cirque du Soleil Immortal tour.
Yes, that is correct.
For Michael Jackson.
So how on earth, if you
neither did he. Michael won, and neither. I do not believe that he got. He's not with Britney Spears. Now, if I'm wrong, somebody come talk back to me.
What was the question again?
Oh, we have Christina. Let's answer it. Hi, you got through.
I did, Catherine. How are you?
I'm blessed.
I am at my cottage, so I may cut in and out, so forgive me for that.
Well, tell us about the interview.
Well, hi, Craig. How are you?
Hello, Christina. How you doing?
I'm fine. I just wanted to bring that up only because you were talking about how people were writing in saying you were a little bit biased.
Yes.
And I just want to let the listeners know that I know for a fact when you, because we've talked about this, when you do your interviews or do your analysis, that you do actually base all your information on some wonderful people that have been doing this for years and years, even going back to Darwin. And I just want to make sure people are aware of that. I think you may think you're biased, but I in no way think that you are with respect to this Wade Robson analysis that you've done.
Yeah, that's very kind, and I'm so glad you've called in, actually, because that's something I've always been conscious about, and and it's a criticism that I have to take, because maybe that I am biased, maybe I can't see that because I'm so fixated on fighting for Michael Jackson's legacy and trying to preserve the good work that he did. Maybe I have a bias, but yeah, you make an excellent point there, whereas I do try and educate those who are interested in body language, especially Michael Jackson's body language, with the research that has been conducted in the field of behavioral science and nonverbal communication by the greats like Darwin, Morris, Ekman, Navarro, Matsumoto, Albert Bridge, Professor Ray Bull. I mean, there are literally umpteen people I could thank right now who have educated myself and to better understand human communication from where I started, 10, 15 years ago. And it's a real honor and a real privilege to have interviewed the vast majority of the names I've reeled off there. And again, it's really rewarding, and especially the feedback I get from the Michael Jackson community as well. I mean, I often, it's amazing that it doesn't really sink in at times, because I was driving to my mum's this morning and Michael Jackson came on the radio and it was like, flipping heck, I can't believe I wrote a book about this guy. And I don't think it'll ever sink in. You know what I mean? I honestly don't, because there will never be another one like Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? You've got your Lady Gagas, your Justin Biebers, and but they're never going to knock Michael Jackson off the top spot of anything. You know what I mean? There will never be another Michael Jackson, and whenever I hear his songs, it's like, wow, it's incredible. Even when I go out with my friends for a night out and like Smooth Criminal comes on, Beat It, Billie Jean, it's like, wow, I wrote a book about this guy, and I don't think it's ever going to sink in. And it's I am conscious of the fact that I might have a truth bias, but I do appreciate you coming on and telling me that I don't. So I really appreciate that.
No problem.
Well, I have to get off the line right now, but before I go, I just want to bring up one other point. Okay, now, as I said before, Wade Robson's sister, Chantal Robson, and his mother, Joy Robson, each testified, both in the 90s and in the trial, that they never saw throughout their entire year-long friendship, years, they've known each other for years, because Michael was also friends with Wade's mother and sister. They testified that they had never seen anything. Now, there's a lot of things I want to bring up about that, because during the entire time that this alleged abuse occurred, Wade was a minor, therefore living with his sister and mother. And I find it hard to believe that in that entire time, considering that they were also close to Michael too, that they did not notice anything amiss about something that may have been going on. And another point I want to make is that if Wade is to be believed, would that not make his mother liable? Because I understand that Wade is suing Michael's production companies and his estate on the grounds that they are responsible, but he does not seem to include his mother in his lawsuits. Now, if he's truly being righteous and he wants healing and he's not doing this for money like he claimed on the Today Show, then I don't understand why he wouldn't be holding his mother responsible for this.
Let's answer a call for you. Hi, Deborah. How are you?
And that's all I have to say. Take care, everyone.
Hello.
Bye.
Hi, Robin. Hi, Deborah. How are you doing?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I want to say hi to Craig. It's Debbie Longshaw here. I've been conversing in the past with Craig. I'm a big fan of a lot of the stuff that he's done, and I just think it's amazing what he's done so far in regards to getting it out there and getting rid of all the lies and everything in regards to Michael. But what I wanted to say, and what I thought was quite interesting about watching the Wade Robson interview, was that we have to remember that this is a young man who's quite media savvy as well, and he's been around the media for a long time, and I think it was quite interesting the way he sort of presented himself, and he was holding his hands, so he wasn't actually sort of using his hands, and hands can actually sort of give a lot away about what sort of person you are. I don't know if I'm getting this across, sort of what I'm trying to say, but I just thought that the way he conducted that interview, it was obvious he was trying to hide a lot of stuff by the way he was kind of presenting himself, sort of holding his hands, being quite, his body language was quite sort of impassive. And that was one of the things I picked up on. I don't know whether Craig agrees with me or not.
Good evening, Debbie. Yes. How do you do? Yes.
Hi.
I completely agree with what you said there. You make some excellent observations. At the start of the interview, you can see that Wade Robson is making a classic defensive cluster. Matt Lauer is making the exact opposite. He's pointing his knees towards Wade Robson, whereas Wade Robson is making a very specific leg barrier. So again, that's telling behaviour. And also his behaviour, what you said before about his hands and his fingers, he was placing his fingers into his thigh underneath for added protection. So he's making a double barrier both with his arms and his legs. Classic indicator that he's not really comfortable. Again, that correlates with those shoulder shrugs and those mouth shrugs. But you make an excellent point again when you said that he wasn't very animated when he talks about Michael Jackson. Excellent point. However, he's a lot more animated when he talks about being a father and his relationship with his son. And again, what we said before, when he was talking about is being a father and his son, he's more confident, he speaks with clarity, his speech rate becomes faster, and he makes a lot more gesticulations with his hands. Again, and like I said before, that liars make fewer gesticulations because, like I said, they aren't sure of which ones come naturally, so they'll naturally suppress them. And again, if a liar hasn't pre-rehearsed his story and he has to think on the spot, it is quite cognitively demanding, which naturally suppresses any kind of behavioural animation. And again, that ties in nicely with the fact that Wade Robson does not give any additional information. He parrots back the words that Matt Lauer uses on Wade. He mirrors back the question. Again, there are lots of areas here that all interlock. And again, it's very interesting and very revealing non-verbal communication from Wade Robson. But getting back to your original point, Debbie, yes, you make some excellent points and observations.
I just, as I say, the other things I just felt is that, here we have a young man who, well, he's not young anymore, but he's a man who's been around the media quite a while. I mean, I just sort of felt and wondered whether, before he went on, he was probably aware that, because there have been rumours on the forums and on the pages that he has been looking at sort of the forums and the Facebook pages and sort of picking up sort of feedback and stuff, and whether he's aware that, in all probability there might have been someone such as yourself sort of analysing his body language, and therefore the reason why he was sat, to my mind, sort of, with his hands tucked in, and, someone had probably or may well have said to him, listen, sort of, you're going to have to be careful how you present yourself here. It's just a supposition. I'm not sure, but sort of being aware that this is a guy that's been around the media for quite a while, I just, my feelings were, that possibly could have been a reason as well.
Yes, you're right. However, what I would say is that emotions that strong will leak out in a variety of channels, like on his face, through his voice, and through his expressions and gestures. We don't see that there. Again, what I talked about before about everyone has an emotional alert database, which is triggered by certain heightened emotions. I don't know what you see in Wade Robson, but I don't see the emotion. I don't see the disgust, the anger, the shame, the sadness. I don't see anything that you would associate with child abuse. But again, a point I must make very clear is that at no point am I going to tell Wade Robson how to feel. That isn't what I do. I look at the behaviour that he's giving us, revealing to us, both through his verbal channels and his non-verbal. And I do not see the emotions that he's describing with sexual abuse with the behaviour he displays. But if he has been coached, then he's been coached the wrong way because he's made a terrible impression, on that interview. And again, but the thing is, he can't hide those emblematic slips. These are unconscious actions. These are subconscious, and these are betrayals. And again, like I said before, that emblematic slips are the gestural equivalent of a slip of the tongue. And these are contradictions to what he said, and there is no amount of coaching or training that you could stop those happening. Emblematic slips are very revealing, and if not every liar will show and reveal them, but when they happen, they are very reliable indeed.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you there, Craig. And I mean, I also felt that at one stage he just looked very smug and very pleased with himself, almost like he was getting away with this. And yeah, for someone who had gone through child abuse, and let's face it, over here, as I say, it's quite interesting over in the UK, where we both are just now. We both know that all that's been going on in regards to the Jimmy Savile affair, and all the that's been coming out about that, and various people have been on and discussing it, and sort of children that have been abused and have come on as adults. I mean, I saw one young lady the other day, and she had emotion. She was showing emotion, which was just nothing there with Wade, absolutely nothing. I think he did himself a big disservice doing that interview, definitely. Yeah. But thank you ever so much, Craig. Thank you, Catherine, for letting me come on and chat with Craig. And big fan. Keep up the good work. And it's just brilliant. It really is brilliant.
Thank you very much, Debbie, and you're on my actual Facebook page as well. So we'll keep it. I don't have everyone on there, so you're very blessed to be on there. So yes, have you seen my cats on there recently or not? I have 2 Bengals who are driving me mad.
They are beautiful. They're really beautiful. Yeah. Very, very cute. I don't know if you having 2, but thanks ever so much, and hi to everyone in the chat room. And thank you, Catherine. Bye.
Okay.
Bye now.
Bye.
I wanted to suggest something to you, Craig. With all that non-emotion, when Matt Lauer said, I think he was saying, the estate says this, and then he said something about what Jermaine said. When he heard what Jermaine said, he I don't know if it was a sound or if it was a shrug, whatever it is, it's something that a person does to say that, that person, they don't matter. It's, it's some kind of movement or whatever it is, where he actually, after all of that stuff, he responded, but it was in a negative way toward Jermaine.
You're right. And that expression you're talking about is contempt, which is one of the universal emotions that all Homo sapiens flash, and it's the only asymmetrical emotion that we display. It happens on one side of the face, and it's a smirk. And again, contempt is often associated with a sense of superiority. And then when Jermaine said that it was all BS, he flashed contempt. Now, again, I would expect to see contempt in that scenario. So there's nothing really to be gleaned out of that particular display, because if someone said I was full of BS, I might flash them contempt as well. So again, that might be the natural emotion that I would expect to see in Wade Robson. But contempt plays an interesting role in human behaviour, because the smirk can often be seen as delight, as someone's getting away with the deceit. Or contempt can be often registered when somebody feels that the person that is offending them is inept or incompetent. One area that people don't necessarily realise, if you're being interviewed by the police and you feel that their handling of the case is pretty dire, then you might flash them contempt, because you might be frustrated at the fact that they've obviously got the wrong person and they're making error after error. You would flash contempt in that scenario. because you feel superior than they are because they are making ridiculous errors. So the actual facial expression of contempt has a variety of meaning depending on the context. But you made a good point there about the expression that Wade flashed in relation to into Wade Robson. And before I left the house this morning, I had a look. I think it was LaToya was on some chat show, and then she said that Wade Robson was very, very close to some members of her family, and apparently he dated some members of the Jackson family. I mean, is that true? Is that verified, or is that just more gossip and salacious gossip? I mean, what is the truth behind that? Did Wade Robson have a relationship with, certain females in the Jackson family?
Two of Michael's nieces.
Yeah, I heard that.
Has that been confirmed, Catherine?
Not to my knowledge, and I would then guess that something that was said may well have to be confirmed. And with that interview, that interview showed, it made it look like, they were dealing with LaToya's body language, and they were. You hear when I do that. They were talking about her doing that, and so they said that she was not necessarily telling the truth. Me, I've been doing this as part of my talking publicly. I don't know. I could do something else, I guess.
You never know with her.
Yeah, you're right. I when I was doing some research for Behind the Mask, I had to be careful what I put in that, because I read reports that she was quite defamatory towards Michael Jackson in one of her books, but I couldn't get that verified, and I couldn't get my hands on the book where she, alleged to have said that Michael Jackson was a child abuser. I obviously don't quote me on that, but is that the truth, or again, is that just another ridiculous rumor?
There was a video, a YouTube video, that she actually says it.
Right. Yes, I think I did watch that, but I couldn't verify whether it was accurate or not, so I didn't include that in the book.
Well, with her, that's about as accurate as you can get, I think.
What did it say? Reverend Kaufman says that he dated Demi Lovato, who is managed on the tour by AEG. Now, I don't know who Demi Lovato.
And he also dated Britney Spears.
He dated Britney Spears. Now, my understanding, you guys change it for me. My understanding is he no longer has that gig with Britney Spears. Neither did he get Michael One or Immortal.
That's right.
So he really.
Sorry.
No, go on.
I said there's been many speculation on why he didn't get why he was let go from Britney, but I don't know whether it's true or not. So.
Kitty says that Wade dated Yashi Brown and another niece. So I guess it's Yashi and Lovato. Now, there's a lot of conversation that's been going on here about meds and whether or not if you take, and you might want to talk about this, Reverend Coughlin, and as much as you're in that field, but what is it, antidepressants, and there are people that are saying antidepressants can make a person become flat. Now, I have never, ever seen that. Antidepressants, to my understanding, pick you up. They lift you up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I work in the pharmacology industry here in the UK as part of my job. I do a lot of work with clients who take antidepressant medication and beta blockers and alpha blockers and calcium channel blockers and things like that. And one of the side effects that over here with certain antidepressants is they can promote something called muscular atrophy of the face, which elongates the muscles of the face that almost it makes the impression that the person is feeling great sadness, because it elongates the muscles in the corner of the mouth, which pull them down, which is a natural expression of sadness. Now, I have heard that with doses of certain antidepressants here in the UK. Again, I don't know if it's the same formula that they use in the United States, but certainly throughout my training in pharmacology, that I have heard that people who take antidepressants, one of the side effects can be that it produces muscular atrophy of the face, and again, it can influence the lack of facial expression and facial movement. And again, if it turns out that Wade Robson is taking a antidepressant at the moment, then my analysis will not be as accurate as I hoped it would be, because his behaviour would be under the influence of medication, and again, that is different than if he wasn't under the influence. So that would be interesting, and again, that is something I thought of when I was doing the video tutorial, because again, I felt that I rushed that tutorial. I wish I had more time to do it, but I was conscious and I was getting hounded by people to get it out there, and I wanted it to because if I didn't do it then I had other plans the next day, the day after, and stuff like that. So I wanted to make sure I got it out. But again, that is a very interesting point that someone has raised there about medication, and especially antidepressants. So again, if it comes out that Wade Robson is taking antidepressants, then my analysis will not be as accurate as I hoped it would be.
Well, he didn't have, his face did not look like there was atrophy. Christina Drake says that the older antidepressants, triglycics, are more likely. These things go. The page moves, and then I can't. I lose whatever it is. So. Christina, if you would like to retype it or call in, oh my goodness, then I can see what it is. I can't see it now. This is Christina Drake.
Okay, she's talking about antidepressants. She says the older antidepressants, the tricyclics, are more likely to cause flat effect.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know anything about those.
I don't know anything about any of it. I just know that I have had some antidepressants before, and I was like, woo, I'm lifted. I'm saved. And so, because I had been the life sucked out of me being in the Chicago public school. I mean, it just totally took me down, being in a classroom where the children were threatening me. What kind of thing is that? So, anyway. But I have had some before. He says...
Catherine, I just wanted to ask Craig one more question before I go, and that was, I read in a tabloid, forgive me for reading them, but it's an English tabloid, and they were saying that some of Wade Robson's attorneys may be looking at an interview that MJ did a while back, and I think it's one that you have already done, Craig. I think we spoke about this before. And they were going to use it and see if MJ was telling the truth. And it was about, I think they were asking him about his molestation. I'm not sure. Have you heard about that? Have you?
Yes, I have. I was sent the link over by Christina, actually, about that. and it was the 1996 police interview, which I think it was aired on March the 1st, 1996, I believe. I think it was the one from the News of the World. But that will be interesting to get somebody. Well, I'm pretty sure they're not going to be ringing me up to do that analysis, because I document that interview in my book Behind the Mask, and I show you in that interview that Michael is flashing surprise quite a lot, and if he had indeed committed these acts of indecency that people have alleged, he wouldn't flash surprise. He would flash negative emotion like fear. Fear will be present in this interview. It's not a surprise, and there is, if any other body language analyzer was to look at that video and have my analysis by the side, then I would hasten a guess that they would believe my analysis, because I spent a lot of time on that analysis looking at his behaviour, and it will be interesting to see if somebody else sees something different to I see. But no, I remember in that interview I used references from Dr. Ekman and Dr.
And it's in your book.
It's in my book, yeah. It's in Behind the Mask, What Michael Jackson's Body Language Told the World. I think it's interview number 3. Quote me on that one. But yeah, I cover that interview in great detail, and it'll be interesting to see if another body language professional analyses it and comes to the same conclusion as mine, or whether they dispute my observations. It will be very interesting. But no, I can assure you that Michael Jackson is telling the truth in that interview.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Catherine. Thanks for letting me speak, and thanks, Craig. I'll talk to you soon.
Lovely jubbly.
Okay, bye-bye.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you for calling in. Bye-bye. I know it was hard. I keep trying to keep up with some of the things that are in the chat room, because everybody in the chat room can't call in, but they would like to. There's something that I really agree with that B says, and that is that she sees him as a modern-day Judas. I think everybody does. And Reverend Kaufman says Michael was everybody's. I'm just going to read to you from the chat room. You're looking at the chat room, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you should. Why don't you talk to us about the things you see in the chat room?
Let's have a look. See. Well, Michael Jackson was everybody's banker. Is this just another attempt at the cash withdrawal? Yes, I think so. Yeah, from the behaviour I've seen, I don't think Wade Robson's telling the truth. I agree. Modern day Judas. Okay, right here. AEG. How is the AEG trial going over at the minute? How is that going down in the US? Because to be honest with you, this whole Wade Robson thing is almost like a smokescreen to actually what's happening with that trial. I typed it into Google this morning, and there was very little information about the trial. It's all about Wade Robson, so I don't know what is happening at the moment, because over here in the UK it's not widely publicised. It's in none of the tabloid newspapers. It's not on the national news. So again, the only way I can glean any information from the trial is via the internet. So I haven't kept up to date with the AEG trial. So what is happening? What is being revealed at the moment? Has anyone got any help or any suggestions?
We have someone talking about the emails, and if you can call in, that would be splendid. I don't know who KJ is, Lauren. Is that his mom? Anyway, B is talking about the emails. I hope you know who I'm talking to. I just think your name is so extraordinary that I can probably never pronounce it. But can you talk to us or say something about this thing with the emails? I hope you're looking at this, Craig, because they go by so fast. I can't catch them.
Yes, I'm having a look.
I like to call in, because when they call in, I'm able to, we're able to learn something from them, because we have such magnificent information. Here's 2215. Let me answer it. Hi, Party.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, I'm back. I can't stay on too long, but it's me, Robin, and thank you for liking my name. The emails have been exposed. There were, I got to learn more about it, but apparently it all involves Frank DeLeo's emails. And you need to look that up. If you can do a Wikipedia, if you can go on a Wikipedia or do a Google search about Frank DeLeo's emails, that's come up. And that in the AEG emails, from one executive to the other, they have been just speaking of Michael so horribly. One of them, one of the executives said, wrote, quote, "Does this mean we get to meet the freak?" They actually wrote that in the sentence. Does this mean we get to meet the freak? I don't understand. If this person is such a freak, why are you willing to do business with them? And the person responded, the other executive responded, "I don't know how I feel about that. Interesting maybe, but I do find it kind of creepy." So it just goes to show you the type of treatment that AEG and the type of feelings that AEG had towards Michael, that they really didn't care about him, and that he was just basically a cash cow. He was basically just to be used for the money. And it's also come out with the testimony, Karen Faye's testimony and the testimony of quite a few others that worked with Michael, that he was very thin. I think Karen said at one point he was so thin that you could see his heart beating through his chest, which I don't know if I find that believable, but just hearing that made me sick to my stomach. That he was disoriented, that at one point he was banned from the stage because they were afraid that if he did get up on stage he might hurt himself, and that at one point he was even talking to himself. That he was talking to himself, and he said that he believed that God was trying to talk to him. And every little bit that keeps coming out in the trial about Michael, his condition, everything about him, it's just heartbreaking. It's just absolutely heartbreaking, and it makes you think, this person is supposed to be the star. When I was growing up, I always believed that stars were the ones who called the shots. They were the ones who get to say and do whatever they wanted, and that if they did not feel that they had to do something, they didn't have to do it. This doesn't sound like it to me. This sounds like this was a person that was just being ran ragged, and that he was just being ordered to do what he was told. And it just doesn't seem like a person who was in charge of his own career and in his own life. I don't know if this is true or not. I mean, I'm not there. I'm not in the courtroom. But just from what little bit keeps leaking out, it just seems like this was a man who was just being used left, right, and sideways. And it's just absolutely horrible. And it makes me feel bad to know that over in Europe, you're not getting this information. You're not hearing this. You're hearing more and more about Wade and his bull crap, and you're not hearing about what actually happened during the rehearsals. Oh, and also that Karen was asked to do some retouching on This Is It to make Michael look bigger, to make him look healthier and heavier, because he was extremely, extremely thin. And I don't see why there wasn't, as much as there were people who were saying, please, somebody get to Michael, please help him, I don't feel right about this, I feel like he's dying, blah, 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 blah. Why didn't somebody just pick the man up, drive him someplace, and just let him rest? You know, why did it have to get to this?
So I ask the same thing, and you know, I'm sorry, I was looking at the chat room, but
that's okay.
But you know, like you say, why did it have to come to that? Because he was worth more dead than he was alive.
And you're absolutely right about that, because every time I've seen a major star, a major celebrity die, their money just goes through the roof after death. You know, I saw it with Elvis. I saw it with John Lennon. I saw it with Kurt Cobain. They're richer more dead than they were alive. But what's the real price? I mean, excuse my language, but fuck it. This is a human life. Forget the music. Forget the singing. Forget the talent. Forget the dancing. What good is having all that if the person isn't physically up to it, and if the person loses his life? What's the point? I would rather have Michael here and be broke and penniless than to have him where he is now, laying in a coffin, but rich.
That's terrible.
I mean, yeah, I know. I know it sounds horrible, but that's just where I am right now. I just don't. You know, I talked this over with my mom once, and especially with the Wade Robson thing, and she said that, you know, Rob, you got to understand that people are going to do and say anything that they can get in order to get what they need, and to get what they need at that particular time. That's just how human beings are. And she made me see that, and she is right. She is right. But at the same time, I just have to say, yeah, but at what price? When do we draw the line, and when do we say, you know, enough is enough? I'd rather have the person here and alive and be flat broke than to have the person be rich and dead. You can't take it with you.
No, but the
point?
people don't care about that. They want his money. His family wants his money. It is not as though, and I find it appalling that his brothers are out there performing with AEG, you know.
Well, I want to speak about that, you know, because somebody brought that up. I don't know all of the facts. I can't speak for anybody. I'm just saying what I believe. I'm going to say that, number one, possibly that company has a monopoly and they can't work with anybody else. And number two, possibly, maybe, just maybe, the contracts for the brothers during that tour were signed, sealed, and delivered way before the contract, way before this lawsuit came about. Maybe even, I won't even say before Michael died, but it was probably signed and stuff before all of this came about, maybe. Now, what the brothers are going to do as far as them working for AEG while their mother is suing them, and remember, the lawsuit is Catherine Jackson and Prince Paris and Blanket. Doesn't say anything about Reby on down to Janet. You know, it's just them who are suing. You know, but whatever it is, they got to live with that.
It has nothing to do with Wade Robson. He has nothing to do with the real case is them saying that Michael was not given the proper treatment. And meanwhile, we have Wade up there saying, yes, he was a very troubled man. Okay, so obviously if he was this very troubled man and he was like, you know, pencil thin, should he have been on tour? We're
True.
talking about now his body and his mind were all messed up. Should he have been on tour?
And they're saying that. They're saying that his body and his mind weren't right at that time. You know, that he was unstable and that he was really stressed. And that they were even using psychological torture on him, you know, saying, if you don't do such and so, we're going to take your house or something like that. And as for Wade, here's what I don't get. I'm all over Twitter. You know, I'm all over Twitter and I'm all over Facebook. And Wade Robson, from what I've seen, has about at least 4 different Twitters. And one of the Twitters, the one that he's been using the most, he has a picture of himself dressed up as a little boy, dressed up like Michael Smooth, criminal character. Well, I don't get it. If this man abused you so much, if this is somebody who, if he did this to your son, you would want to kill him, why do you still have a picture of yourself dressed like him, like you're emulating him? There is more to this thing with Wade than is being let on about. Something is very fishy with it. It really, really stinks. It stinks like a dirty diaper. And eventually it's going to come out. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in a year, but at some point I bet you it's going to come out that he lied.
I agree. Yeah, there is something not quite right with his testimony and his recent behaviour. And I mean, you know, leaving, you know, skipping town, putting his house up for sale and leaving for Hawaii, you know, is that an admission of, you know, that he has no confidence in what he's just said? And is it an admission that he has been paid to do that, you know, to say what he has said? Because there's no way that he is recalling information from memory. So it's interesting. But with that in mind, Dr. Gross, I'm gonna head off. I'm gonna go and attend to my naughty kittens who I can hear downstairs destroying the living room. So I'm gonna go and make sure I've still got a television downstairs. But it's been lovely chatting again. I mean, anytime you want me back on the show, I'll be more than happy to talk to you about non-verbal communication and anything to do with Michael Jackson or anything in general about human behaviour.
But before you go, tell us about your books so that we can know how to accomplish it.
Okay, right, you know. Well, I am most famous for the book I wrote about Michael Jackson, which was my first book, which is called Behind the Mask, What Michael Jackson's Body Language Told the World. In the book, I analyse 4 key interviews that Michael did throughout his career and 1 rebuttal video, which was the Martin Bashir video where he's praising Michael Jackson. I look at the non-verbal communication on display in all the videos, which is crazy. It's been number 1 in 5 countries. I've had a thank you email off the Jackson estate. It's been mentioned in the New York Times. It's been everywhere. It's unbelievable. I'm so overwhelmed at the response I had from Behind the Mask, and if you've not got it, you can get it on Amazon, on Twitter, on Kindle. It's quite late here in the UK, so yeah, you can get it on Amazon, anywhere in the world. I'm on Kindle, and then my second book came out about 2 months ago, which is called Unmasked, a revealing look at the fascinating world of body language. So again, this is more a specific guide to human behaviour and human emotions and human body language. And in the book, I cover certain examples like cultural differences, how to spot lying and deception, how to impress in job interviews, and body language myths and stuff like that. And again, it's a portable guide. It's only 95 pages long, so it's a kind of a quick guide to body language, but it's a practical guide, and that's why it's doing so well on Amazon, I think, because it's only a short guide and it's not full of faff or filler or myth truths. It's an accurate guide to human behaviour, and it's doing really well. And there's something I need to tell you as well. I'm writing my third book about human behaviour. However, I've put it on the back burner because I'm going to write a book about emotions, and it's all through Wade Robson's behaviour. It spurred me on to write a book about emotions. So I've started it, and I'm hoping to finish it by September. And this has been spurred on by Wade Robson's lack of emotion when he was talking about the sexual abuse allegations. So my third book is about human emotions. So that will be out hopefully in September if I crack on, but we'll have to see. But again, you can find me through a variety of channels on my Facebook page, on Facebook, which is Understanding Body Language, Liars, Cheats and Happy Feet. Or you can find me on my website, which is allaboutbodylanguage.com. And on Twitter as well, which is @BodyLanguageUK. And if you're interested in learning more about body language, then check me out on YouTube as well. I would just type in CJ Baxter with 2 X's in Baxter. And I've got about 1.3 million hits on those video tutorials as well. So if you're interested in learning about any aspects of human behavior, whether it be flirting and dating, interview, emotions, lying and deception, then make sure you check out those, the work I've done in the field. But yeah, it's fascinating stuff. And Michael Jackson was a complex character, but I didn't see that his behavior was criminal, and I made that quite clear in Behind the Mask. So if you're interested in learning more about Michael Jackson's body language, because he had a series of repeated gesticulations that he displayed throughout his interviews, ranging from the 1993 interview he did with Oprah Winfrey right the way through to the 2003 Martin Bashir interview. He had very similar behaviors that he displayed, and without me going into them, you'll find it very interesting. So there you go.
Thank you so much, Mr. Baxter. It was wonderful meeting you.
And you. Thank you very much for calling in. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Well, this is what we're going to do. We have 45 minutes left, and that's a substantial amount of time. The comments in the chat room are incredible. They're incredible. So if anyone wants to call in, then that's great. But if not, then I'm going to close this part of the show, and we can all just be in the chat room. So is there anybody who would like to call in? Okay. Well, with that, then, as I said, we have 45 minutes left. We want to thank you, Craig, for spending so much time with us and for helping us have a better understanding. And you can see that you brought a little fever out because everybody has been here. Everybody has wanted to talk about this. And this has been on a different level. It's not like saying, see, his eyes are batting or anything. So we've had an opportunity to converse about that, and I appreciate that. And Robin, I adore you, right?
Yes, I adore you too. Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me be on your program.
Well, thank you for being here. And Craig, you're still here?
Hi, I'm Dr. Gross. Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, I'm just about to log off, but I just want to say thank you so much for your time and inviting me back onto your your show. I thoroughly enjoy it, and I listen into the other shows you do as well. It's a great pleasure to know you and all the work you do for Michael Jackson as well. I mean, I take my hat off to you. So, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for all the work you do as well. In restoring Michael's legacy to its rightful place. And like I said before, I will fight tooth and nail for Michael Jackson because there will never be another one like him, and the behaviour I see in Michael is totally innocent. And I say that at the end of the book that I feel that Michael Jackson was innocent in every sense of the word. And again, that is something.
So do I.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
We'll stick by that.
Yes. And whoever that other person is, what is his name, Bashir? He kept saying, "You're a virgin, aren't you?" So people were not there. Remember you said something about that, Craig, regarding Oprah?
Yes, I did, yes. I couldn't believe it when Oprah Winfrey asked Michael Jackson if he was a virgin. I mean, who on earth asks somebody that?
Yeah, he did ask him that. He asked him that.
I know, yeah. I covered it in my book, and you can see his frustration.
He's out there being a molester.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was crazy that, and again, Michael was displaying a lot of lip-hiding behaviour when he was around Oprah Winfrey, a lot of frustration, and that was partly because I think Oprah's interview style. But again, in the 90s, she wanted to get. She was a journalist. She wanted to get to the bare bones of Michael's life. But I think the biggest error in that interview was the fact that Michael Jackson was left standing when Oprah Winfrey and Elizabeth Taylor were seated. Michael Jackson looked like a reprimanded child when he was stood up. It was almost like his mother was sitting down with the school headmaster to discuss his miscreant behaviour. And Michael Jackson lost all his power and his non-verbal power by being left standing. So there should have been a chair brought for him. There wasn't. It's all hindsight, but you can glean Michael Jackson's reaction by the way his facial expression, a lot of frustration, a lot of anger. And again, those are heightened emotions. And again, we can glean his sentiments and his mood based on his facial expression, which we don't see from Wade Robson. So it's an amazing the turnabout in the expression and the management of emotion. Michael Jackson very expressive about his anger. So should Wade Robson. We don't see that with Wade. We see it in Michael Jackson. Thoroughly interesting stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
Indeed. So with that in mind, Dr. Gross, I'm going to sign off. So thank you very much for inviting me back on, and I look forward to coming back on again.
Aren't you happy that, the problem that came about this morning had to be something, like in the computer, my computer? We got through the interview without sounding like we were on bubbles.
Yes, you're right, yeah.
About that, and I've enjoyed you. I feel happy that we were able to do this interview. I was just so sad about that last interview. Pretty much not being completed because it was really a good interview. And guys, if he's really talking about his books on the first interview. It's just simply that something happened and the interview got cut in half. Well, maybe not totally in half, but the interview ended early because of our connection. So you can look and find his last interview and learn more about the books that he has written. Actually, you can look at the previous interview, and you will be very interested in all the information that's there about Behind the Mask. It is interesting. It really, really is. So I just want to say that.
I have to go. I'll be right back. I'll be in the chat room. But I wanted to thank you very much for having me on the program, and I'll talk to you a little bit later. Thank you so much.
I'm going to go to the chat room.
And thank you, Mr. Baxter.
Good night. Thank you, Robin. Good night.
Good night. Oh, and I've friended you on Twitter and on Facebook.
Thank you very much.
Both. No problem. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Well, with that, and I don't know whether or not I should keep you out of what you wanted to do, Craig, but I appreciate you having been here so much.
It's very kind, and thanks for having me on the show. But we'll have to reschedule to do the interview again. The one about Unmasked, so we can finish it off. So we'll, tomorrow we will synchronize diaries and have a look when we can do the second part of that interview, if you like. I mean, I'll be more than happy to come on to your show again and talk about Unmasked and the research in the book and how you can apply it to your daily life. I mean, that isn't a problem at all.
Okay. Well, we will have to find a time to do that, and because it's very interesting. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to close up this portion of the show, and I'm going into the chat room with everybody. And if you would like, if you have a few more minutes, you can come and chat with everybody, say hello to all these people. We're down to only 23 people, but come and say hello to all the people who have who've been here talking with you. We had maybe, I don't know, We almost got to 40.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll go and do a few jobs, and I will come back and I'll say goodbye in the chat room later on.
Okay, excellent. All right, thanks so much.
Right, all the best, Dr. Grass.